continued in my Christian life. The years went by, and I did end up coming back to Pennsylvania and going to school and getting a couple jobs, and continued in my path in growing in the Lord. And I did meet a man, and we had a wonderful relationship, and we ended up having a wonderful son his name is Lance. And one day when we were at home, we decided we were gonna put shelves up for our son. So I had dropped our son Lance off the night before at my mother's in Quakertown, and I was very upset when I dropped him off. I had a feeling, I didn't understand it, but I knew that the Lord through my life had given me this feeling, like a fourth seeing, understanding something in the future that was going to happen. It was usually with other people, but this time I felt it with me and his father. And I said to my mother, something catastrophic is going to happen, and all the people that have persecuted me for loving the Lord and persecuted me for being righteous are going to be really sad and going to repent and going to come to see me. And I left her house, and that was a Friday evening, and it was in September. And the next day, his father and I did some things. We cleaned up the car, and we were en route to go to Allentown to get some shelves to put up for our son. And as we were going down the road, he had purchased a new Cavalier car, and he knew I liked to drive stick, and it was a 5-speed. So he pulled over and he said, "Would you like to drive the car?" So I said yes. So I got out and I got in the driver's seat, and we continued down the road maybe a mile, and I was coming up over a hill, and as I came up over the hill, there was a car in my side of the road, and I had a split second to think, and instantly I thought of crying out to God. I said, "Oh my God," and I really was crying out to God, and I reached over to try to hold Lance's father in the car, and at that moment I had a split second, and I turned the wheel to the left to try to get away from him, and then there was impact, and the car spun violently, and the centrifugal force catapulted Lance's father out of the back window and impaled me on the shifter, and continued to give me 12 other fatal injuries. And I was cut out of the car with the jaws of life, and I was conscious through most of it, so I really remembered them cutting me out. I remembered the smell of the hot metal, and I got burned on my arm from it dripping. I remembered smelling the hot wires. I remembered hearing the people, the sirens, and the police, and I really felt no pain. What I felt was an incredible peace, just an incredible feeling of, now I know it was God's grace just enveloping me and His protection. But as they got me out of the car, they had the medevac waiting, a helicopter waiting to medevac me to shock trauma, and they had to lay me on a slab. And it was a really drastic scene, because actually the shifter was like a tourniquet, so it was a very drastic and very life-threatening thing when they pulled me off the shifter and laid me on the slab. And I can remember the paramedics screaming, "Oh, I need more help here." And again, I just felt incredibly no pain, and I had 13 fatal injuries. I had 4 hematomas in my brain hitting my skull. Part of the right lobe of my brain was separated from the left lobe. My brain stem was twisted and had blood around it. My C2 was fractured. All my ribs on the right side were fractured and punctured my right lung, which was filled with fluid. My hip was smashed. My femur had hit the dash. My thighs, my knees had hit the dash and split my femur straight across. My right wrist was fractured. My left foot was entangled in the car and almost cut off. It was turned completely in the opposite direction. I had various internal injuries, from kidney contusions, very bad bruisings. My spleen was bruised. I had a massive heart attack on impact and I almost swallowed my tongue. I had a seizure. It was just massive, massive injuries, but I just felt incredibly the presence of God and was very, very peaceful. And then they loaded me from the slab, they loaded me on the medevac. It was a long process of being in a coma. I was in a coma for almost a month on total life support. They had me in a big bed that was swinging back and forth to keep my blood circulating. They really didn't give me any hope. Lance's father was dead at the scene. The coroner said that his heart beat twice after impact. But what I experienced while I was in the coma, actually I was in the spiritual realm, and there is no time in eternity, so I can't tell you exactly how that time went. But I do remember when the medevacs start going up over the trees that I felt like I was passing out. And it was kind of like when you're dreaming and you're going to fall out of bed, but you catch yourself. And that's what I felt, but I couldn't catch myself. And my spirit left my body. And I passed through the air, and I ended up in the third heaven.